Now, it's been reported that Billboard ads for junk food are to be banned from many places in Sheffield.
Although the ban, agreed by Sheffield City Council's Finance Committee, will not break an obesity epidemic, they said the move would set a tone and gently encourage others to follow.
So what do you make of this? Good idea or not? Host of... Is that Blethered?
It is indeed.
What does that mean?
We will find out. The Blethered podcast, Sean McDonald, certainly thinks so. He believes that removing images of fast food means that people are less tempted by unhealthy options. Meanwhile, broadcaster Clare Muldoon says it's not up to the local authority to govern how people spend their money or how they eat. We'll welcome both. Sean, let's start with you. You back Sheffield Council's decision, is that right?
Yeah, I think it's, it's often criticised, or this type of small change is criticised as being, purely incremental. But just because it's an incremental change doesn't render it completely ineffective. I think these conglomerates shouldn't have unfettered and unrestricted access to, to kids' attention at all times. It's mainly for children that I'm focusing on. If you remember the documentarian Morgan Spurlock, he had the documentary Super Size Me, and he had a real focus in just, what these visual triggers can do to children. So, yeah, I would definitely be slapping restrictions on it.
Claire, Sean's got a point there. I mean, we were talking earlier about taking smartphones away from kids, but even if we did that, they would still be bombarded with all of these messages encouraging them to eat unhealthy food.
Nicola, yeah, that's true. But the point of Sheffield banning anything, for me, it just smacks of a nanny state. Greg Fell wants to set the tone in Sheffield. Now, 60% of billboards are in the poorest areas of Sheffield. Not only does he want to ban the promotion of high sugar, fat foods, he also wants to ban airports, airlines, fossil fuels, petrol stations, oil companies, all of these different infrastructures to stop promoting their goods and services. Now, think back to 2006 with the Formula One, when they banned tobacco advertising on the cars. There was a funny cartoon by Matt, I think it was in the Telegraph, who put a nicotine patch on the cars instead of the brand logos. That hasn't stopped anyone smoking. It hasn't stopped young people smoking. It is all about education, Nicola. Nothing will do,
hasn't it? We have the lowest levels of young people smoking now more than ever. Granted, a lot of them have moved
now. They're vaping now, and vaping's just as bad, as has been proven.
No,
the research is there, the evidence is there to support that vaping is just as bad, and they shouldn't be doing either.
I didn't think this was going to be a debate about smoking.
Coming in, aren't they?
Yeah, but it's absolutely not the case that vaping has been proven to be as bad. I believe the NHS guidance is that...
The research has to be for a long time, Nicola, and we're here not to debate that, you're right. But it's one of the forms of banning on advertising that this nanny state of Sheffield wants to do. It doesn't work. All they will do, the fall in revenue when TfL banned fast foods and high sugar, fat content foods and services, it made no impact at all financially to TfL. Most children now don't get their advertising.
Can I jump in? Can I jump in? What I think is
your show, Jeremy. You jump away.
Thank you, Claire. Well, what I think's really interesting, right, is, and we were talking about this with phones. I think, people can have an opinion, right? For example, we have the highest incidence of obesity, right, in the Western world amongst our kids, of course. And you won't agree with this, I guess, both of you. I don't know. I said it with phones, I say it with food. I'm sick and tired of parents expecting the rest of the world to be blamed or to be educating their kids. I don't care whether this... People say to me, people have to live off takeaways because it's cheaper. No, I tell you what, cook decent meals for your children. Educate them that having... Everybody have those things as treats, right? Claire, isn't that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've been banging on about this for years. It's not up to the state to educate children and tell them how to live. It's the parents. It all comes back to the home. And you can ban advertising as a form of virtue signalling, in my view. It's wrong on so many counts.
But, Sean, advertisers wouldn't spend so much money on these billboard campaigns if they didn't work.
Exactly. They want to have children's attention. Of course, there's got to be parental input, and of course, the responsibility lies with the parents. But if you keep putting those golden arches or a KFC sign or Burger King or whatever it is in front of their eye line, then you're going to be grabbing their attention. They're going to want it. So it's a multifaceted approach. And like I said, just because it's an incremental change doesn't render it completely ineffective, and it should be taken. See, if there was a gun-wielding maniac walking about the streets, would you say, oh, do you know what, I'm not going to bother locking the door because he'll probably get in anyway? You're still going to take each wee measure that you can take. So, you know, that's why I would still be doing it.
Claire?
At all, Sean, I'm sorry. I mean, we need to bring this back to what we're discussing, and we're discussing the fact that banning airports, airlines, fossil fuels, gambling ads, high-fat, sugar content foods from billboards in a local authority will not have any impact at all, because children get their advertising from TikTok, Instagram, all forms of social media, Snapchat. Okay, we've got McDonald's who will, if you order online, will say we don't have an order to schools policy. Do you agree? Everyone, of course, yeah, we don't agree with that. But then you need to look at the food that kids are eating in schools, at home, as Jeremy quite rightly pointed out. This is nanny state. This is virtue signalling. And Jeff Fell can set a tone as much as he wants, but it'll be tone deaf. And that's what I'll say on it.
Well, I mean, Claire, fair enough. If you think it's okay to keep advertising again without restriction for gambling and for these high-fat foods, as you say, in the poorest areas, that doesn't sit right with me. So I'm glad to see that it's that this has been taken.
It's not about it. That's up to the companies. It's not up to the local authority. And not all billboards are owned by the local authority. That's the other thing.
It's
60% of Sheffield, it's the companies.
If we're asking questions, you look
in any impoverished poverty area, you will find betting shops, because they know that they will get their income from that. That, for me, doesn't sit right. Not about the advertising of Paddy Power, or there are other
incremental changes, like
companies
I said,
around.
But there are also, Claire, in other areas, restrictions about how many fast food outlets can be put in next to schools. So, you know, it's not necessarily strictly nanny state controlling what people can and can't do. It's just, as Sean was saying, these incremental changes that move people towards a more healthy lifestyle rather than banning them from it.
Can I finish this, as we're out of time, by telling you something? About 10 years ago, I did a programme about knife crime, and I interviewed the head of Sheffield City Council. And he said to me, there's not a knife crime problem in Sheffield. And I showed him video footage of how big the problem is. I would be, if I was in charge of Sheffield Council, I'd be concentrating on a knife crime epidemic on my streets. But listen, that's the beauty of debate. We all have our opinions. Clare Muldoon, thank you, Sean. Thank you very much indeed.